America is seeing representation in Ghana the way we feel like we should have in America. If this man was born in America, he would have a chance to be president, as would a couple of the leaders that we've seen in Africa.
Like it is attributed to Robert Mugabe, if we put two men in a room and give them 12 months to produce as an offspring, they cannot produce an offspring. And so, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to stand here. But let me use this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to celebrate Mr. Speaker, who has been a stalwart and a bastion for this bill.
Every time I turn around, it never fails. There's another all-star player on this team of parliament and leaders that Uganda and Ghana and Kenya and all these African countries with their leadership that's standing up right now. It reminds me of this. If you ever had watched football and they've got all these great players and they're out on the field playing, and they have a bench. When a player gets tired, they go to their bench and they pull a player up. And what we call them here in the United States are bench warmers. They sit on the bench until they keep the bench warm until one of the stars come off the field, and then they put the substitute in for that all-star player. In Africa, it seems like they've got a deep bench. I mean, a bench full of all-stars, including Bagban. Bagban, I just found out about him. Thank you, Bagman.
But for Mr. Speaker, this bill would most likely have been killed. Mr. Speaker has stood his ground and ensured that this bill has come this far. And I want to use this opportunity with the support of my colleague members of Parliament, since we all support this bill, to serve notice to the Western powers that we have taken judicial notice of what they have done to the Speaker of Uganda. After Uganda passed the bill, the sanctions on the Speaker of Uganda's Parliament and on the sponsors of those bills, we will serve notice as well that if they replicate same with our Speaker and members of Parliament, we will also take action against their business interest in our country. Because they serve in this country and make money from here and take back home. They cannot hold us to ransom.
And believe this, with what he's saying right there alone, sanctioning the Speaker in Uganda, Anita Among, sanctioning African leaders is basically sanctioning Americans, because the vast majority of Americans agree with what Anita Among did in her parliament in Uganda. And they agree with Ghana and what they're doing with their bill. And they agree with Kenya. We agree with them. The vast majority of Americans agree with the way that they're presenting themselves and the way that they're protecting their families. So if you sanction Uganda, if you sanction Kenya, if America goes off and sanctions Africa for what true American values stand for, then shame on you, and you're going to hear us loud and clear.
And like has been asked on this floor, Mr. Speaker, why is it that the American Secretary of State has not sanctioned the Secretary of Defense? Because June was declared Pride Month, and they had transgender parades. The U.S. Secretary of Defense blocked and stopped a transgender parade on a U.S. Air Force base because he said the U.S. Pentagon, which is their defense headquarters, would not support such activity. Governor DeSantis has passed legislation against open transgender parades in Florida. Why have they not taken on their own citizens? In fact, in 2022...
Bravo, Sam George. That's my state. I live in Tampa, Florida. Big Buccaneer fan. DeSantis didn't literally cancel the parades. They had some parades in Miami and some in other cities around the state. Not as much, though. The one in Tampa was canceled. The law that Florida passed was that you cannot bring a child around a transgender or strip club or a drag queen kind of RuPaul type of thing here. So if kids are found in that area, then we're going to arrest you. So it was basically saying if there are any kids around these parades and there are any kind of nudity or sexual orientated dealings going on, which that's what it is, it's a big sex parade, then we're going to arrest you. So a lot of businesses and places down the street were like, don't come around here because we don't want to be liable to be sued for that stuff. But however, I want to say, yeah, which in turn, after DeSantis did this, realized, and also after he took the CRT, critical race theory, out of schools that was promoting queer theory and stuff like that, that's when he decided to run for president because everybody was moving to Florida. Just like everybody's now going to want to move to Africa. Everybody's going to want to move to Africa. It's going to be, Florida had an influx of over 1 million people come when all this LGBTQ stuff started happening and the Democrats took over because it was a big, crazy world out there. So Florida ended up saying, come on, we'll take you. We've got a little bit of our sanity left here, and which is what we're seeing Africa doing, what we're seeing Sam George doing, and Bagbin, Anita Among, Museveni, Ruto of Kenya. We're seeing it from Kagame. We're seeing it from these leaders all around Africa and dealing with their government the way the people want them to. That's what America's looking for, is what Africa is doing. And if Africa keeps doing what they're doing, who knows where they're going with this? I mean, how big are they going to be able to get? I know here, guys, remember, Africa is birthing a new thing right now, and it takes time and it's painful to have a baby. But Africa is doing this, and it's coming out.
Alone, there were 433 actions in State House of Legislatures across the United States, banning and clamping down on homosexuality. The Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS, just last week, passed a landmark judgment enforcing the rights of American citizens to refuse to offer services to people on the basis of their faith and because they were LGBTQ. Mr. Speaker, it shows you that even America has realized the error of their judgment and are walking back their steps.
We are aware of the attacks and the threats that have been made, but like we serve notice, we're a sovereign nation and we will stand for what is Ghanaian. And we also want to serve notice to those issuing the threats that carrying out those threats will be a high-risk enterprise here in Ghana, because we will come on the floor of Parliament, use your platforms as media houses because we know you support this bill, and publicize every business that is from that country in this country that operates in Ghana, and call on Ghanaians to boycott them.
Boom! He's not playing. He's not playing. I'm telling you right now, he knows the system. Sam George is a genius. He knows the system. If anybody took notice of what just happened in America with Bud Light, the #1 selling beer in America, Bud Light, they came and they put a transgender woman on a beer can. Bud Light is known to be an American beer, tough guy's beer. They put a transgender and sent her a 6-pack of beer with her picture on it. Bud Light went from being the #1 purchased beer in America, #1, bar none, way above the rest, to going down to 10th place. And it had held the #1 position for I don't know how long, at least 20, 30 years. Bud Light was the drink of America. Now it's ranked number 10. So when you start talking about boycotting over the transgender issue, whew, Americans have no problem with that. We'll boycott over the transgender issue. I mean, we're doing it now. So include us in your boycott with whatever they're doing. Whatever you want us to boycott, let us know. We're standing with Africa.
So if any government of any country thinks that they will sanction any of the sponsors of the bill or the Speaker of Parliament after this bill is passed, they should prepare to pack up and leave our country as well, because we would also instigate public outcry against their business interest in our country. If they work here, they must respect our laws, because when we visit their countries, we respect their laws. And until we see them carry out those threats against the likes of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Ukraine, or Russia, Bahrain, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, Russia and China, then they should stay off Ghana. We are committed to ensure that under the guidance of Right Honorable Speaker, we would go into the consideration. We expect the consideration stage to be a very swift one.
Hats off to Sam George and Ghana. The reason why Americans are standing behind you as well is because this is more dangerous than any bomb or any physical war could ever be. This wants to tear a country apart from the inside out. And no matter if God is on our side, we win. Thanks again for watching, guys. Love you all. Like, subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.